One of the world's most celebrated races, a marathon born out of the spirit of the Summer Olympic Games held here 3 decades ago, and now in 2017 it's more vibrant than ever. You saw that beautiful sunrise. This is the Skechers Performance Los Angeles Marathon, the women's elite race about to begin, but first a quick look at the finishing time since the course changed in 2010, and a bit of an uptick in the times the past 2 years. Dina, if you were running today, what do you think it would take to get it done?
I think the slower times the last couple of years are directly related to the weather. It was a little warmer, but today we've been blessed by the weather gods, so I think the runners will see much better times today across the board as these 24-plus stories are being unfolded.
Yeah, when you look at some of the elite runners out there, some of the females that we'll be following today, who are you keeping your eyes on?
There's a clear favorite in the field with Brooke Tyatt-Degetha. She has the fastest time on paper by almost 3 minutes. So I count her as the favorite going into the race. But we don't pencil in the results here. We have a race to run, and so there comes Mesdouet Tufa, who's also from Ethiopia. This is her first marathon in the United States. She's excited and off a very hot 2016 season. So she says she's recovered from those races and prepared even better for this one. So it's always good to hear that. There's no marathon complete without a historic battle between Ethiopia and Kenya. So Sarah Kiptu of Kenya has won 2 U.S. marathons last year and is looking to better her personal best here on the streets of LA. Jane Kibbe is also from Kenya, but she actually resides in the United States for much of the year and feels that she's also ready to run a personal best. And we have to throw in a U.S. hopeful in Heather Lyberg. She's coming into this race confident in her build-up, whether that's from winning a half marathon earlier this year to getting her pace down in a road race last month. We could put an American on the podium today. Her greatest challenge may be the weather. She comes from Helena, Montana, and she had negative 20 degrees on some of her training runs, so it was either spending a lot of time inside, and doing that, you don't have the heat adjustment, but you also don't have the pounding of the roads to get used to 26.2 miles on asphalt. So that could be her greatest challenge.
Yeah, it looks like a good field. We always talk about the elite runners that come here. We're counting down to the start of the women's race. There you see her at the start line. We're moments away. You can feel the energy. We're about 10 seconds away from them getting ready to go here at the Skechers Performance Los Angeles Marathon. And off go the elite women.
And there are no pacers here at the Skechers Performance Los Angeles Marathon. And we can already see that it's like, oh, you take the lead, no, you take the lead, no, you go right ahead. And so it starts off pretty conservatively, and it takes a while sometimes for them to find the rhythm that they want to actually run the race at. And you can tell right away with no pacers, out they go gently into this good night.
Dina, what is the mindset at the beginning of a race? What are you thinking at this point?
I think a lot of this is just emotional management, that it's difficult to get to hear the gunfire and feel the energy of 24+ thousand people behind you and to go off at a conservative pace. But you don't want to burn glycogen early. You want to settle in. You want the first 10K to feel very easy. So they're obviously at a very doable pace right here. But a lot of it is also listening to the women around you and kind of reading their body language as to their confidence levels, whether they're breathing hard within this first mile. After we come around this beautiful parking lot that hosts Dodger fans most of the year, they have a significant drop before they reach Sunset Boulevard, and there you see the motorcade that leads them to police escorts. At night, when you run, it feels like you're running very fast. So I'm sure they feel like they're running faster than the 6-minute pace that they are probably most likely doing. But we saw that the wheelchair start earlier this morning in the almost pitch dark, that you feel like you're running. I don't know what that effect is, that you feel like you're running much faster than you actually are, but they're coming into light here. We can see, so they're going to get their bearings on the road.
And that's Helen Chepkergat from Kenya, who's a 2:31 marathoner at her best, and Tufa from Ethiopia, who's a 2008 Olympian at 10,000 meters. I mean, making the Olympic team at 10,000 meters for Ethiopia is like making the 100 meters team of the United States for the Olympics. This is a top-end athlete who hasn't been able to take her track credentials yet and turn it into a top marathon performance.
How do you transition that, Dina?
I think you just have to have faith in your coaching. Belief comes before anything. So believing in your ability, believing in your training group. They spend a lot of time training in large groups, and the cream rises to the top in most of those instances.
Cheprakat's nearly 6 feet tall. She's towering over Tufa, who's right behind her, the very short runner from Ethiopia. Heather Lyberg has the ponytail swishing back and forth, and then that is Sarah Kiptu on the far right from Kenya. And so that pack is formed up very nicely. But just to give you an idea, the pace they're running, that's Johanna Reyes from San Francisco, who's a 2 hour and 50-minute marathoner, who's behind in the white top with the red bar across her shoulders. So she's a 2 hour, 50-minute personal best marathoner running with people who run in the 2:20s, which tells us that they're not really going after, not pushing the pedal yet.
It's fascinating to me just to think about as the group starts to separate a little bit, if there's a psychological advantage to staying with the first group. Are you saying to yourself, that doesn't matter, my race is with myself? I mean, it really is a psychological battle here.
Yes, and the best thing for any of these women to do at this early stage of the race is to stick together. It's aerodynamic. You expend less energy. So we'll see as the miles go on that the most confident and really antsy people who want to get the pace going will end up pushing the pace quite a bit. But right now, nice and easy, packed together. Joanna from the U.S., who was on the far left of your screen in the previous shot, was second in the San Francisco Marathon. So I think she has, visiting with her over the weekend, has a lot of confidence and is really excited at the opportunity to run on the streets of Los Angeles this morning. She has that high and that confidence from running well in a big race and wants to execute even better today.
One of the things they say, Darren, is that you can't win a marathon in the first 15 or 20 minutes, but you can lose one. And you can't do it by going too slow. You can do it by going too fast. So a conservative early pace just means they're keeping more of their running in their legs for the final stages of the marathon. So the slower they go over a long period of time. I'm somebody who loves competition rather than just one person running a time trial. And the way it's setting up right now is we're going to have a very competitive marathon.
And Heather Lyberg in the center of your screen with the blonde ponytail from Helena, Montana. I mentioned her earlier as one of my U.S. hopefuls in this race, looking very comfortable in the middle of the pack. And I also look at where people position themselves. And she was in the middle, so she just moved outside. So now I'm reading this as she's going, maybe getting her heels clipped, so getting some free space off to the side.
It's interesting, some people choose to run within the pack, but Heather clearly going to the outside. We see her there taking a peek at her watch. What do you like that first mile to be at, Dina?
I think it should be underpaced. They're overpaced. They should be running slower than their projected finish.
That's what Darren, Dina and I both being big fans of the sport as we are. There's a big half marathon in New York City this morning, where a lot of people prepping for the Boston Marathon are running. And Dina is the American record holder in half marathon, and she was nervous that her half marathon record was going to go down today by Molly Hubble, who's a
I believed it would.
Who's a great runner.
Believed it.
And we were following the race before our race got underway, and the early splits were slower than Dina's pace, but at the end, she came relatively close, which means she started easy, and then at the end, she started really flying. And that's what we're seeing here today. They're starting easy, which means later on, they're really going to start flying.
All right, we're going to keep an eye on the women's elite race, but right now, let's go down to the start line. Megan Henderson is standing by. As we'll do that in a moment. We'll keep it right here with the women elite racers. I was am fascinated by the gait and just working with you guys over the years, I'm fascinated how you can look at the face of the runner and tell whether or not they're comfortable. It seems easy. Is there anything that you can see just right now as we get this nice tight shot?
I mean, I see comfort on everyone's face, which we should at this point. And I think the most exciting part is when the pace starts to quicken and people start falling off the back, unable to hang with that pace.
All right, back inside as we get set for the beginning of the men's race, a very deep and competitive field headlined by the last two men to win this race. The defending champion, Weldon Kirui, and the 2015 champion, Daniel Limo, both from Kenya. Is this the battle that you think is going to play out at the beginning, at the front of the pack, Tony?
I absolutely think so, because Limo, who we're seeing winning his 2015 trophy, was third place last year, behind Kirui, and they're both in top form coming into this year's race. Weldon Kirui ran 2:13 in the heat last year, and you can see a 2:10.36 in 2015 was even hotter. That was like a 2:08 performance. That was really wonderful. But last year, Daniel Limo lost his coach. His whole training group lost their coach, and so they were a little bit at sea, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's got a coach that's a top coach. He's back. All is well again. So I'm expecting a really top performance from Daniel Limo. But Weldon, again, had a very good last tune-up race at the Houston Half Marathon in January. So he's really in top form and speaking confidently. He became an international caliber athlete with his victory in Los Angeles last year. Somebody who's going to challenge him is also from Kenya, Alicia Barno, Mr. Consistency. 2:10 or 2:11 almost every time out. Last year ran 3 marathons. He won one and got second in the other 2 by very close margins, by the way. So he's just consistent. On the American side, Jose Madera, a graduate of Anaheim High School and the University of San Francisco, top American last year in 7th place in 2:17. This year, even in better shape and with that experience and the weather, expect a much better performance out of Jose as well.
Yeah, the American and the Los Angeles hopeful in Madeira. There's so many stories playing out here at the Skechers Performance Los Angeles Marathon. It's 7 a.m. here in Los Angeles, and just moments ago, the Skechers Performance Los Angeles Marathon about to begin. The men's elite, there you see them as they line up. We were talking about Kirui and Daniel Limo, and they are just about ready to get started here at the Skechers Performance Los Angeles Marathon. You can feel the energy at the start line.
That signature LA 3032 behind the start line banner, where we can appreciate and celebrate the years moving on here in Los Angeles.
Everybody's fingers on their watches.
Set!
You damn.
And off they go. The elite men.
And you know, one of the things, Darren, is that because we have our 2 previous champions in this race, and at the same time, when we talk about Arnold, he also raced against Kirui last year in Duluth, Minnesota at the Grandma's Marathon. So most of these top men have raced each other in the last year or so. So not too many secrets out there. They've been on the field against one another. They've competed against one another. So they know one another's strengths, perhaps their weaknesses as well. And it's a matter of whose given day is it? Whose day is it today in Los Angeles?
And with the men elite, the 24,000 plus dreams, all of the training, it's all about to head out onto the streets of Los Angeles on this iconic Stadium to the Sea course. And there you see them. What a vision. You can feel the energy coming through the screen. And really a big community, this LA Marathon.
63 nations of the world represented. 63 nations. Think about that.
That's amazing.
It's only a couple hundred. You got 63. It's amazing. Almost 1/4 of the number of nations in the world are represented on this course today in Los Angeles.
And all 50 states.
And no matter what else they don't have in common, this one act of running from stadium to sea connects them at a very emotional, serious level. And that's the beauty of the sport. It's all the same.
All right, let's check in with Megan Henderson, who's at the start line. Hey, Megan.
I'm with Michael Greenberg, president of Skechers. Great to have you here. Talk a little bit about
what this event means for Skechers.
Well, it means so much because we're local, we're a part of the community, we're Southern California based. This is year 2, and we're committed through, we got 2 more years committed to the marathon, and who knows what's after that. But we take this serious. Born and bred here, 25 years old. Skechers' birthday is in May, and we're a performance company. We take running really serious, and I have to tell you, Weldon was wearing Skechers Performance last year, and he won the marathon.
There you go. That means something, doesn't it? Talk about some of your runners out here today.
Oh, we have a lot of runners. We have runners from all over the world running today, and hopefully they'll place, they'll win. We're not sure, but they trained hard. They trained.
Okay, we lost the signal of Megan Henderson, who was at the start line with Michael Greenberg of Skechers Performance. But here you take a look at the men and the women elite. They are out on the course. What can you tell us, Dina, about the pace that we're seeing so far?
Oh goodness! I mean, we still have all the same women in that pack. It still looks like a conservative pace, and no one really taking the definitive leadership role of that pack. And that's what happens in the first 10K, maybe even longer during the start of a marathon. Is that everyone's trying to feel out their place in the pack, their pecking order.
My Pasadena Pacers.
And we just got our first mile split at 6:09, second mile at 5:52. And just a comparison from last year, it was 5:47 for the first mile and 5:52 for the second mile. So as we sort of eyeball tested it, the women did go out at a relatively conservative pace.
Yeah, even taking the turns in a gentle manner. So no one's really established themselves as the true leader. We keep seeing the front roll shift a little bit here in the pack, but all women certainly capable of much faster, each one of them.
There you see Helen Jeppregat, who she just has like a very easy pace. She seems, out of all the people there, this stage is not too big for her. She is very, very relaxed.
So Helen on the far left of your screen, Tony was alluding to earlier, is very, very tall, much taller than the women she's running next to her. So it makes her pace look a lot easier.
Much love, girlfriend. Much love.
It is 7 a.m. here in Los Angeles, and just moments ago, the Skechers Performance Los Angeles Marathon kicked off its 32nd running. The women's elite field, featuring U.S. runners Heather Lyberg and Tori Tyler, and then a few minutes later, the men's elite race, headlined by 2 former champions, both representing Kenya, the 2015 champion Daniel Limo, and the defending champion Weldon Kirui. And we welcome those of you joining us on WGN America, the 2017 Skechers Performance Los Angeles Marathon. Calling the race with us today, one of the great voices of the sport, Tony Revis, who is a legacy announcer here and has called all 31 of the previous Los Angeles marathons, and the Olympic medalist and still the current U.S. record holder in the marathon, Dina Castor. Let's talk about this women's elite field. I know this is a competitive group of women who are going for it this year in the LA Marathon.
And all in all, it's a very equally stacked race for these women. We have
Local accurate dealer today. Wow, look at that scene as these runners make their way to the finish line of the 32nd annual Skechers Performance Los Angeles Marathon. Back inside our studios, we've got our Skechers on. We're ready to go. What a day it's been, guys. When you think about what we witnessed, let's start with the women's elite, where we saw a story of dominance play out.
Helen Jeppregat from the very beginning took this race at the lead. There was only only her race from the very beginning. We saw all the heavy hitters, all the pre-race favorites as they left Dodger Stadium at a pedestrian pace, and we kept waiting for the pace to pick up to see who could establish themselves as the leader here. Helen Jepkergott is on the far left in the orange, but even Americans, Joanna Reyes and Heather Lyberg, some U.S. hopefuls, were still in that pack as they worked their way out of Los Angeles and into West Hollywood. As the race went on, pre-race favorite Tagitha Brooke-Tyatt Tagitha was in there, and as soon as Helen Jepkergott and her pulled away from the field, we kept looking for someone to make a decisive move. As they went through running tangents, fussing, Helen Jepkergott was actually getting her heels clipped on a few times. The girls make this sharp turn and make their way towards Santa Monica, where it is Helen Jepkergott in a slow, steady race who pulls away with the lead. Following her in second place was Jane Kitty, also of Kenya. And rounding out the podium in third place was Angela Orgehu. She is a Colombian Olympian. So great performances, a slower race than we had anticipated, but Helen Jepkergott's race from the very beginning.
And then on the men's side, I mean, you talk about a duel coming down the stretch and the drama that we had, everything. You couldn't have asked for a better race.
Doug, when you consider the 1% difference in 26 miles is over a minute, and you come down to just a few seconds difference, that's how closely matched these athletes are. Again, lovely day to run, about 55 degrees at the start. An elite field that had last year's champion and the previous year's champion, so guys with a lot of experience. An Eritrean runner, Daniel Mesfun, took the early lead. The other big guns decided to let him go. A pack of 11 formed up and stayed that way for a long, long period of time, with all our defending champions, including a Spaniard, Pedro Nimo, a 212 man, taking the lead at one point in this race. Everyone went to the front at some point or another, but no one really established a hard charging move, and the pack just let them play that course out, let the miles go by, and finally we saw it come down to a four-man race. Three men with experience on this course. Cotilli, second last year. Limo, the champion 2 years ago. Barno in the red, the man who has never been here before, and Weldon Kirui, the Skechers performance athlete on the far left of the screen, trying to defend his title, which is a tough thing to do here in Los Angeles. Limo, the 2015 champion in the orange, made a bold move at one point, and we thought he looked particularly good, but then it was down to four, shoulder to shoulder down San Vicente. Barno made the first move, the second move, the third move. He dropped Weldon Kirui. He dropped Willie Cotilli. He couldn't drop Limo. 3, 4 moves. He even threw up at one point. Limo took the lead, but Barno came back, got refreshed with a new bottle of fluids, and he made the final move, turning on to Ocean, and pulled away to win by about 22 seconds. I mean, another thrilling competition here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, 2 new stars born at the Los Angeles Marathon. As you take a look at the result,
And
Kenyans, what a day.
Yeah, but I want to look at number 10. That's John Pickhaver from Los Angeles to Villanova Grande. So not a good weekend there. They got beat by Wisconsin, the NCAA's, but a 2:23, a 5-minute PR for the writing PA for the Goldsberg sitcom.
Yeah, and then, of course, we spent much of the morning celebrating Los Angeles. We call this kind of a block party, kind of a community event. We see all the characters that we've been interviewing throughout the morning.
There's many great days in Los Angeles during the calendar year, but nothing with the spirit of the Los Angeles Marathon, that it brings so many different people in so many different places together to celebrate the human condition at its highest pitch.
Yeah, it really galvanizes the community, and we come together, and we've been talking about the great causes, the many